Russell Westbrook's resurgence with the Denver Nuggets has silenced doubters who once labeled him inefficient and past his prime.
Speak for all Nuggets fans when I say, man, your energy is contagious. Yeah. How are you still doing this?
By thriving in a system that maximizes his relentless energy and explosive play style, Westbrook has transformed the Nuggets' offense, rekindling memories of his prime, once dismissed as washed.
Russell Westbrook is supremely talented. We know that so much of his game is predicated on his athleticism, on his motor, but it always has come down to the word efficiency.
He's answered critics with improved shot selection and seamless chemistry, redefining his narrative. But just how did the league's most polarizing star go from being written off to becoming indispensable? Not long ago, pundits and fans spent countless hours dissecting Westbrook's perceived decline. During his stints with the Lakers and other high-profile teams, harsh judgments rained down whenever he missed jumpers or piled up turnovers.
You're that elite. We want to see you when it really, really matters. We don't want to see you squeezing into the playoffs, fighting for a 10th seed or an 8th seed.
Social media exploded with memes calling him Westbrick, highlighting every airball or ill-advised shot. Even longtime supporters wondered if his athletic gifts had waned to the point that he could no longer carry a serious role on a contender. Part of the negative perception stemmed from his time in Los Angeles, where expectations soared after he teamed up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. On paper, it looked like a dream scenario. Three superstars combining talents to chase a championship. On the court, though, they had little synergy. Westbrook often looked like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong spot. Fans grew restless. Local talk radio hosts hammered his every misstep, and his body language suggested mounting frustration.
This might be a guy. It'll be interesting to see if anybody trashes him, because he responded to being trashed, I guess you could say. And it's Russell Westbrook I'm talking about.
Before the 2025 season began, Westbrook spoke up about never truly being placed in the right position to maximize his abilities. He explained how certain offensive systems reduced him to an awkward floor spacer or a corner standing guard, roles that clashed with his natural style.
You know, type of thing, and I just never felt I had a fair chance on the basketball front, on any front.
Many dismissed these statements as excuses or self-aggrandizement. Then came the trade to Denver. Critics rolled their eyes, predicting another short-lived experiment. After all, Nikola Jokic was the reigning superstar center with a unique style. How could a ball-dominant guard like Westbrook coexist with such a specialized big man? Yet something interesting happened almost immediately upon Russ's arrival. His game looked rejuvenated. He spoke in interviews about feeling free again, about running in transition, attacking the rim, and orchestrating fast breaks. Instead of confusion, fans saw a player who relished his new environment. The chatter shifted from "he's done" to "wait, is Russ back?"
Russ has been playing really well since he's been inserted into the starting lineup. And the one thing you have to do when you have Russ on your team, you have to let him be Russ. You can't say, Russ, stay in control. Russ, don't shoot this shot. Russ, don't turn the ball over. You have to accept him in its totality. And when you do that, normally good things happen.
Once Westbrook arrived in Denver, the box scores quickly told a striking story. Over a 9-game stretch, he averaged 15 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds on an eye-popping 60% shooting from the field. These numbers weren't padded in garbage time or overshadowed by wild turnover counts. They reflected a controlled aggression that made the Nuggets' offense hum. For years, critics hammered him about inefficiency, pointing to a career field goal percentage often in the low 40s. They highlighted questionable pull-up threes and mid-range jumpers early in the shot clock. In Denver, those ill-fated attempts nearly vanished. He rarely needed to hoist contested shots when a simpler path to the basket was available. Instead, he cut to the rim at opportune moments and found himself finishing easy layups or dunks off well-timed passes. This newfound efficiency didn't stem from a miraculous shooting overhaul. He didn't spend the offseason transforming into a lethal three-point marksman. Rather, the Nuggets gave him the green light to do what he does best: push the pace in transition, drive hard when lanes open, and create for others if the defense collapsed. That clarity of role helped him become more selective. Suddenly, he wasn't scolded for passing up open jumpers. Coaches preferred him attacking the paint or setting up teammates. His shot chart reveals a notable difference. Gone are the forced step-back twos and awkward corner threes where he felt compelled to prove he could space the floor. Now, the majority of his makes come within 10 feet of the basket or in short mid-range zones, spots where he's historically fared well. As a result, result, the Westbrook jabs quieted. Defenses that once sagged off him, daring him to shoot, now found themselves scrambling. If they left him open at the perimeter, he'd exploit angles to either blow by a slower defender or leverage a pick and roll situation. If they pressed up, he'd zip inside with a head start. In both scenarios, the offense looked fluid and decisive. One key stat stands out. Westbrook's shot attempts have decreased slightly, but his scoring output remains respectable. That means he's no longer forcing 20+ shots per game to reach his point totals. Instead, he's capitalizing on efficient looks. When the defense overreacts, he's dishing to open shooters or feed passes to cutting big men. No single factor explains Westbrook's revival better than his partnership with Nikola Jokic. On paper, the two appear contradictory. Jokic is a pass-first center with a deliberate, methodical approach, while Russ is a ball-dominant guard who thrives in helter-skelter environments. Yet these differences have proven complementary. The magic begins when Jokic sets up near the free throw line or on the elbows. Traditionally, opposing defenses keep a big man in the paint to contest drives, but Jokic's mid-range and passing prowess force shot blockers out of their comfort zones. Suddenly, the lane looks more like an open highway. For a slasher like Westbrook, it's a dream scenario. If a defender doubles Jokic, Westbrook cuts behind them for an easy look. If the defender stays attached to Russ, Jokic has room to operate or finds a different cutter. Consider a sequence from a recent game against Utah. Jokic caught the ball at the high post, forcing the Jazz center to step up. Meanwhile, Westbrook stood in the corner until he saw the double team shift. In an instant, he darted baseline, received a pinpoint feed, and slammed it home. These are bread and butter actions that rely on Jokic's ability to read defenses quickly, paired with Westbrook's explosiveness and timing. Another notable aspect is Westbrook's willingness to move off ball. In past stops, critics insisted that if he didn't have the ball in his hands, he drifted or stared at the action. In Denver, he's constantly in motion, circling screens, sneaking into gaps, or flaring to the opposite side if he senses the defense overloading. His improved secondary movements reflect trust in Jokic's passing. Russ knows that if he frees himself for even a second, the reigning MVP can slip him the rock for a high percentage finish. Reversing roles also unlocks new layers to Denver's offense. When Westbrook handles in the half court, Jokic can transform into a dynamic screener or even an off-ball cutter himself. It's unusual for a 7-footer to excel as a backdoor threat, but Jokic's timing and footwork make it possible. Westbrook's experience as a lead guard means he can deliver the ball on target if he spots an opening. That synergy keeps defenses off balance. They can't focus solely on halting Westbrook's drives or Jokic's post-ups because the duo's interplay weaves them together. An overlooked benefit is how both players enjoy the high-tempo transition game. While Jokic might not sprint coast-to-coast every possession, he's brilliant at snagging defensive rebounds and launching accurate outlet passes. Westbrook's speed adds an extra dimension. If the pass doesn't go directly to him, he's still streaking up the floor, drawing defenders away from trailing shooters. The result is a dynamic brand of basketball where easy transition points accumulate. Historically, Westbrook found success alongside big men who could catch lobs or pick and roll, like Steven Adams or Clint Capela, briefly in Houston. However, none matched Jokic's blend of court vision, scoring, and spacing. Instead of being forced to shoot from outside to clear the lane for a post player, Russ is now embraced as the lane wrecker, with Jokic playing the role of maestro. They operate almost like two-point guards, one from the perimeter, the other from the pivot. That dual threat has proven invaluable. When Russell Westbrook first arrived, fans debated whether he should start or come off the bench. After all, Christian Braun had excelled in a starting role, providing strong defense and off-ball contributions. Meanwhile, Westbrook offered a gravity of his own, but carried certain risks if he reverted to old habits of forcing shots. For a moment, Coach Michael Malone toyed with different combinations to see which lineups clicked. Early returns showed that Westbrook thrived next to Nikola Jokic. No surprise there, given their synergy. However, inserting Russ into the starting five required shifting Braun to a bench role he might not relish. Balancing roles became a puzzle. If you start Russ, you get top-tier transition offense and immediate chemistry with Jokic. On the flip side, you might disrupt what was already working with a younger two-way player like Braun. Another factor was the bench unit's need for a playmaker. The Nuggets often had trouble generating offense when Jokic rested. In the past, they relied on short bursts from backup point guards or by committee approaches. Westbrook's presence gives them a proven floor general who can keep the tempo high, orchestrate pick and rolls with DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji, and feed wings who spot up around him. If he's attached to the bench group for significant stretches, those second units can punish opposing reserves rather than merely tread water. Still, fans and analysts argue that Westbrook deserves consistent minutes alongside Jokic since that duo is lethal. The simplest compromise might be staggering their shifts in a way that Westbrook starts but remains on the floor longer with the second unit as well. This approach grants him extended time to wreak havoc in transition, then rejoin Jokic for key moments before each quarter ends. Meanwhile, his off-ball drives open lanes for everyone else. Players like Michael Porter Jr. appreciate that Russ can penetrate and kick out for open threes.
I think, Russell, the way he sees the floor is going to be really, really fun to play with. DJ looks in amazing shape, and when you got an athlete like DJ getting on the rim, it can open up a lot for shooters like me or Julian. So
veterans such as DeAndre Jordan benefit from well-timed alley-oops, something that was lacking when the bench had no high-level distributor. It's reminiscent of vintage Westbrook highlights, but now in a more streamlined role that doesn't require him to put up 25-plus points nightly. As of now, the debate continues. Some fans call for a permanent starting job, pointing to Russ's efficiency when playing alongside Jokic, while others value the bench boost he provides as a super sub. Coach Malone keeps praising Westbrook's adaptability, indicating that final decisions hinge on matchups and overall team chemistry. Regardless, the presence of a dynamic guard like Russ offers the Nuggets numerous lineup possibilities. They can go big, small, fast, or methodical, all thanks to his versatility as both a lead guard and an off-ball slasher. Beyond his offensive contribution, Westbrook has also injected the Nuggets with a renewed competitive spirit. Known for his unyielding intensity, he's the type of player who celebrates every hustle play and barks instructions on defense. While that fire sometimes rubbed teammates the wrong way in previous stops, Denver seems to appreciate his vocal presence. Younger players benefit from seeing a veteran star dive for loose balls and fight through screens like it's Game 7 of the finals. During a recent matchup with the Jazz, Russ showcased that dedication in a crucial sequence. He deflected Colin Sexton's pass in the corner, lunged for the loose ball, missed it by inches, and then sprinted back into the lane for a second deflection. The ball squirted free and he finished the play with an emphatic dunk in transition. That single possession captured what he brings: unrelenting effort, quick reflexes, and the ability to turn defense into offense. While no one mistakes him for a lockdown defender, Westbrook's hustle can disrupt opponents. He gambles for steals at times, but in Denver's system, those gambles often pay off because Jokic and other defenders rotate effectively. If Russ can ignite a fast break, the Nuggets' transition game becomes deadly. This synergy elevates everyone's morale. There's a palpable sense of "we're in this together" that Westbrook fosters with his energy. Coach Malone has publicly applauded his leadership, noting that Russ often stays after practice to mentor younger guards. People once questioned his adaptability, but the evidence in Denver suggests he's more than willing to adjust for the team's good. The once-cited big ego has given way to a version of Westbrook who says, "I'm here to make Jokic better. I'm here to help us win." That resonates in a locker room that respects his track record but also demands accountability. Defense remains a work in progress for the Nuggets, as a single high-energy guard can't fix systemic issues. Still, Westbrook's approach sets the tone. He challenges guys to move their feet, close out aggressively, and never coast on a play, even if the team has nights where they allow too many points. His example underscores that they can't rely solely on offense to bail them out. Why might this rejuvenation last? Start with the system. Denver encourages ball movement, off-ball cuts, and a willingness to pass up good shots for great ones. Westbrook flourishes when he isn't asked to park on the perimeter or carry an offense single-handedly. In his younger days, he thrived by having the ball in his hands every possession. As he aged, critics questioned whether he could adapt if his athleticism waned. Here, the burden is split. Jokic and other facilitators help share the load, allowing Russ to preserve bursts of explosiveness. Another reason is that nobody's pressuring him to fix his jump shot overnight. He's expected to nail occasional open threes to keep defenses honest, but the staff is comfortable if he takes only 2 or 3 attempts from downtown each game. That's a huge psychological relief compared to prior teams where he felt compelled to prove he could spread the floor. Freed from that pressure, he can patiently survey the court for better angles to attack. He also benefits from better spacing. While the Nuggets may not have an all-time great set of shooters at every position, they do space the floor with guys like Michael Porter Jr. and other wings. Opposing defenders must stay attached to Porter's dangerous stroke, meaning Westbrook rarely sees a clogged lane. If a defense decides to ignore him outside the arc, he can still charge in for a quick layup or dish to Jokic for a short-range jumper. The biggest caveat is that the regular season differs from the playoffs. In postseason settings, defenses tighten, scouting intensifies, and teams will force Westbrook to beat them from outside or by making high-pressure decisions in the final minutes. Still, his current role suggests a better chance of success under those conditions than he had in Los Angeles or Houston. He won't be forced to take 25 shots. He'll have Jokic as a release valve, and if doubles collapse on the big man, Russ can punish them by cutting or attacking an open lane. Whether Denver can capture a championship remains unclear, but Westbrook's form offers genuine optimism. If he continues to average near triple-double stats on 50-60% shooting around the rim, he's invaluable. He no longer needs to chase volume or stat milestones, which means fewer forced shots and more harmony within the offense. Russell Westbrook's growth in Denver isn't about reinventing himself. It's about matching his strengths with a roster that embraces them. He's attacking the rim, orchestrating fast breaks, and flourishing alongside Nikola Jokic's genius. The result is a reinvigorated veteran who ignites the Nuggets with passion and unselfish play. Once seen as a relic, he now proves adaptation can unleash a player's best form at any age.